And yes, I won. And what if Invincible was in Demon Slayer? Could Mark Grayson stop Muzan and the demons? Despite his tremendous strength, Invincible would need a Nichiren sword. After all, if he fights in the traditional way with his fists, he won't be able to defeat demons. But would Invincible join the Demon Slayer Corps? Because as we know, Mark doesn't have many positive experiences with teams. So will this affect him during the story? After all, how did Invincible end up in Demon's Lair? Look, during a Viltrumite invasion on Earth, to stop the Viltrumites, Cecil builds a weapon capable of sending them to another dimension, or rather, to another universe. Mark was fighting against the Viltrumite after all. He was the only one capable of such a feat. Cecil, when firing the weapon, ends up hitting Mark and sending him to another universe, the universe of Demon Slayer. After landing on Earth following the blast from Cecil's weapon, Mark ends up in a place where kind people help him recover. However, when trying to find out where he was, Mark realizes that he was not in the era he came from. Mark was in the Taisho era, in Japan, where the Onis ravaged the world. To escape that pain, people performed rituals to reach eternal paradise. By participating in the ritual to get more information, Mark meets Douma, the leader of the cult, who was actually upper rank too. Mark was being careful. However, through the people in the cult, one night he discovers that one of the girls who was helping him recover disappears. While investigating, he discovers that Douma was devouring them. Quickly, Mark goes after the Oni. And the question that remains is Mark invincible, faster than Douma, upper rank too? Mark may be tough, but Douma has many abilities capable of stopping the Viltrumite hero. And if Douma is as fast as the hero, Mark won't be able to escape death. So, is it possible for Mark to make it out of this alive? Before I tell you, if this story is getting you excited, like the video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Legend has it that only subscribers to the channel will get the stylish Viltrumite mustache. And don't forget to hype up the video to gain Viltrumite strength. Thanks for the support. Now look, measuring Mark's strength is a bit complicated because his flight speed is different from his movement speed in battle. Let me explain. Mark, in the first season, flies to the moon in 8 seconds, with the distance being more than 384,000 kilometers. This is equivalent to a speed of 160 times the speed of sound, which qualifies as extreme hypersonic speed. And we know that Douma as an upper moon has incredible speed, being able to move at hypersonic speed. However, it's nowhere near Mark's flight speed, but as I said, flight speed is different from movement speed. But don't be discouraged, because Mark is very experienced in combat. And as we saw when Mark faced Armstrong Levy, the hero reacts to several portals opening in different dimensions, adjusting his position and attacking almost instantly. This shows extremely fast reflexes, suggesting reaction speed from hypersonic to relativistic. That being said, Mark can keep up with and surpass Douma in combat even though he can't stop him. After all, he doesn't have a Nichiren and doesn't know the weakness of demons. So, how would the battle play out? At first, Mark would attack Douma while avoiding killing him, trying to restrain him somehow. After all, killing is not his first instinct. He usually avoids killing whenever possible, reflecting his human moral values. The only exceptions to this are when there is a risk to innocent people, self-defense, and a lack of more humane alternatives. In this case, when Douma uses his Isekai Kikijutsu against the hero, after breaking free and seeing the demon's wounds regenerate, Mark would understand that there is no other alternative to stop Douma, especially in the era he is in. The battle is fierce, with Mark destroying all of the demon's cryokinetic techniques by sheer brute force. Mark tries in every way to kill the demon, piercing his chest, breaking all his bones, even ripping off his head, just like he did with the Immortal. However, it's completely useless. Realizing the danger that Douma poses to the other innocent beings around him, he sees no other option but to hold the demon and go in with him. Underground, drilling through thick layers of rock, enduring extreme underground pressures, until he reaches the Earth's magma with Douma, throwing the demon into the extremely hot magma and annihilating all of his cells. After this battle, Mark investigates the world he is in, flying at night and encountering various terrifying creatures. To him, it's like a zombie apocalypse. Mark deals with all the demons he encounters in the same way he dealt with Douma. However, he realizes that this is an exhausting and dangerous approach even for him, but it's the only one he knows. However, while flying to get more information from someone, at sunrise Mark finds a derailed train and people crying and screaming. Mark meets Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Rengoku in his final moments. As he holds off Upper Moon 3, Mark flies toward Rengoku to help him. However, the Oni escapes by piercing Rengoku's chest, leaving Mark with an important choice: defeat the demon or try to save Rengoku. Since his injury is severe and there's a lack of technology in the Taisho era, it might be impossible to save him. So what will Mark do? Well, my friends, Mark is a hero. He is invincible. He would definitely choose to try to save Rengoku. After all, saving a life is worth more than taking another. Mark asks young Kamado for information to take him to a place that can help him. Tanjiro gives him the location of the Demon Slayer core. Mark flies Rengoku at an incredible speed to help him, and they arrive at the Demon Slayer core. They are startled by Mark. After all, Mark arrives flying in a world where only the demons have powers. But Mark had brought Rengoku, so they could help him. Rengoku is immediately taken to the Butterfly Mansion to be treated. Mark flies back to the place at an incredible speed so he can arrive in time to stop the demon. However, when he arrives, Tanjiro tells him about how demons are affected by the sun. And he also asks Mark who he is, getting the answer that Mark is the Invincible. At the Hunters organization, Mark manages to get all the answers he needs from Guide Bayashiki, the leader of the Demon Hunters organization. In this case, Mark holds the answer he needs, and that he needs to find Muzan Kibutsuji, the king of demons, the one who has knowledge of all existing demons and who might be able to send him back to his own world. However, will Mark join the Hunters organization? Well, he has no other choice but to join them since he understands that they can't affect him, like Cecil already does. Embarking on a mission with the UI in the entertainment district, Mark obtains his Nichirin to stop the Onis. Flying over the district, he finds Daki on the rooftop with a courtesan. He quickly decapitates the Oni, and her brother Gyutaro appears. Mark was now facing the Upper Moon 6 pair. And to protect the courtesan, Mark takes Gyutaro's poisons to the chest, initially resisting those slashing attacks. However, Mark is not invincible nor immune to poisons, especially poisons that are extremely potent. Uzui was one of the few who managed to stay on his feet in the fight against Gyutaro. After all, he was resistant to poisons and the second strongest Hashira without the Slayer mark. But being a Viltrumite, the poison would have minimal effect, and even during the battle, due to the physiology of the Viltrumites, Mark's body would create a cure for itself in an instant. After decapitating Gyutaro, the hero realizes that he needs to decapitate both demons at the same time. So, while the hunters deal with Daki, Mark holds Gyutaro until the hunters finish off the Oni, finally decapitating Gyutaro again and defeating the Upper Moon 6 pair. At this moment, Mark has already completely changed the timeline of Demon Slayer. Mark defeated Upper Moon 2 and made it so that Tanjiro didn't need to damage his sword against Gyutaro, so he didn't have to go to the Swordsmith village. And without his presence, the Swordsmith village would be completely annihilated by the Upper Moons 5 and 4. Also, without awakening the Mark, the Hashiras, Muichiro, and Mitsuri would die in the Swordsmith village because of this factor. With that, Muzan is close to wiping out the entire Demon Slayer core, and Muzan will also get you if you don't like this video. Pay attention! Muzan starts gathering information at all costs to locate the headquarters of the Demon Slayer core so he can wipe them out once and for all. Curiously, Kagaya was already expecting this. Knowing this, he gathers the Hashiras in training, waiting for Muzan for the final battle. When he arrives at the core, Muzan is caught off guard by Ubuyashiki's trap and poisoned by Tamayo, soon taking the Demon Slayers to the Infinity Castle. Invincible! He now fights Kokushibo hand to hand. Meanwhile, he lets Gyomei and Sanemi fight against Rantengo, the Upper Moon 4. Thanks to Mark's rescue, Rengoku is able to fight even though he's having extreme difficulties. The Flame Hashira fights alongside Tanjiro and Tomioka against Kaza, the Upper Moon 3. Shinobu, together with Nosuke and Kanao, fight against Gyoku, the Upper Moon 5. As the battles come to an end, Mark had already destroyed Kokushibo in every possible way, but the Upper Moon one kept regenerating his head. Finally, with Nakimi's defeat thanks to Obanai's efforts, the Infinity Castle collapses and Mark takes Kokushibo to the magma beneath the Earth's surface. Heading towards Muzan, all the Demon Slayers survive except for Rengoku. However, this time the Flame Hashira manages to fulfill his role with Akaza's defeat. Muzan is strong and brings the Demon Slayers to their knees. Knowing Mark's tactics, Muzan keeps his distance from the hero. On top of that, he tries to turn Invincible into his Supreme Oni. To Muzan's misfortune, Mark uses all his flying strength and speed to get close to the Oni and throw him into the sun. Mark completely burns and purges the Demon King, sending him to his greatest source of fear and weakness, the sun. In the end, Cecil reverses the polarity of his dimensional machine to bring Mark back. So, did you enjoy this story? Leave a like and comment which character you want to see next here in Demon Slayer. I picked out this video for you to watch and I'll see you there, otaku.